Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. About two more minutes for more people to log in right now. So thank you for your patience. We'll begin shortly. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Alex Salas. I'm a business development specialist and the Veterans Liaison for the SBA's Orange County and Inland Empire District Office. I want to thank all of you for joining us and attending this Meet the Small Business Liaison series. We have a special guest for you today, and I'm really to share all this information that could benefit your small business. Uh, we had Miss Toledo, who is our Director of Business Opportunities for Ontario International Airport, but unfortunately she was unable to make it due to illness. But we have Jamal Alvarez, who's the Ontario International Airport Senior Vice President of Administration. Um, Mr. Alvarez serves as a Senior VP for Ontario International Airport. He has over 17 years of public procurement and contracting experience. 10 years of his experience involved major airport development procurements at LAX, in which he contracted crucial capital improvements, including the Bradley West Gates, automated people mover, and consolidated rent-a-car facility. He leads a multidisciplinary group of administrative and business-focused disciplines, including procurement, contracts, warehousing, and business opportunities, responsible for developing, directing, and coordinating the execution of key initiatives across all business aspects of the organization. In his role, he will implement processes and procedures that provide support to the OIAA organization, airport stakeholders, and the traveling public. This webinar is to help you, a small business, to connect with procurement entities, agencies, federal and non-federal agencies. We're here to bridge the gap for you. As many of you know, if you're looking to get into the federal market, it's difficult and you don't know where to look at and where to start. And that's why the district office has created this series to help you connect with the procurement that's out there so that your business can thrive. And that being said, I'll hand over to Mr. Alvarez to begin the webinar.
Thank you, Alex. Welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you here. I'll cover a little bit about Ontario and what we do, and then I will take some questions. So hopefully you get some good information, and then I can, fill in any gaps that are remaining. Just Alex, just confirming you guys are seeing my screen.
Yes, we see it.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so Ontario at a glance. OIAA is the fastest growing airport in California. I believe we are one of, if not the fastest growing airport in the U.S., in the nation. And that's something that we take very seriously. We are excited about our growth. We're excited about this airport and the things that we do and the way that we serve our passengers and the traveling public. We do serve key markets across the U.S., Mexico, and Taiwan. We have daily flights, daily direct flights to Taiwan. We just added, I believe, three more uh, direct flights to Mexico, in addition to some of the ones that we had already been issuing. And we've added direct flight to Chicago, direct flight to BWI, which is one of the few directs, or one of the first directs that we've had to the DC area. We have directs to Nashville. So there are a lot of areas in which we serve this community and serve the nation as a whole. And again, we're looking to continue that. We had 7.1 million passengers in 2024. That is as high as we've been in a very long time, since the airport switched its control over from LAX. And we're for all intents and purposes right now, we are on track to meet or surpass that number again. So again, the growth is continuing. And with that, that means a lot more work and a lot more opportunities for us. So what does this office do? The Office of Business Opportunities. Our CEO asked me to create this department recently, and so when he did so, I was thinking about the perfect people that I could bring in to do that. And the perfect person for me was Isela, and I wish she was here to talk through this with you guys, because she's just very good at this, and she's a perfect person to be in this position. So right now it's a very small team. It's she and I, and we're working through how we want this office to operate and what things we want to target. So our mission statement is just, we're pushing the values surrounding our community and local businesses, but we want to make sure that we're here to support small businesses and provide awareness of upcoming opportunities, so that you guys know what's happening. Because when you know, you're better prepared, and then that helps us. We get better participation, we get better competition, we get vendors that are more ready to come in and do what needs to be done to help us and to help you. And so those are some of the things that we're trying to do right now. Isela currently looks at all of our outgoing solicitations, especially the ones that have federal funding in them, to make sure that we are setting proper DBE and or ACDBE goals on those projects. She's managing and monitoring our DBE and ACDBE programs to make sure that we're in compliance. There are a lot of compliance steps that come with those programs, and so we want to make sure that we're checking all of those boxes and that we are being a good steward of federal funding, so that we can make sure that we're continuing to get that. We manage the Title VI program. And then, as you'll see as the presentation goes along, we're looking at expanding and getting additional programs in that target and highlight small and local businesses that make it easier for you to come in and hopefully work with us. So I talked about compliance a little bit, especially on the ACDBE and the DBE program side, and that has been honestly the initial focus of the creation of this office. Like I said, I brought Isela in to help with a lot of our long-term visions, but initially she and I have really realized that there's a lot of compliance stuff that we need to get down, make sure we're doing the basics, make sure we are mastering the basics, so that we can start to focus on new programs from a proper baseline. And so that's right now what our focus has been. We've gone in and retooled and tweaked both our DBE and ACDBE programs. We've started to look back at some of the other contractual obligations that come with contracts that are awarded under those programs. And then Isela's doing a fantastic job of reaching out to some of our vendors that are under those contracts to make sure that they're aware of what their obligations are, and that they're aware that this office is here to assist them in being compliant and making those, and having that open line of communication. So that has been the initial focus, and that's going really well. And the next focus and what we're trying to do now is, again, look at new opportunities. How do we create additional opportunities for people to come in, and how do we share those opportunities? What options do we have to make sure that businesses know what's coming up, know how to prepare, know how to do business with Ontario, know what types of things we're looking for. And so some of the things we've talked about are doing workshops. Like, we can have workshops where small businesses can come in and we can let them know, like, these are some of the opportunities that are coming up. These are some of the past opportunities. These are some of the past winners. These are some of the ideas that Ontario has as we're going through our continued growth and as we're moving forward and really trying to emphasize the push to drive small businesses here and local businesses here to get that revenue shared, especially as I said at a growing airport that is positioned in a strategic area. We're close enough to Orange County, we're close enough to we are in San Bernardino County, and we're close enough to Los Angeles County where businesses from all of those counties can come here without too much strife and work and have an opportunity to strive. And so we're trying to make sure that we're on the forefront of allowing that to happen. So a big upcoming initiative for us is a small business enterprise program. And as you'll see later, we do have a small business enterprise element in our disadvantaged business enterprise program and our ACDBE program, and that's required by the federal government. But that is, kind of an offshoot. It's a little piece. It's another way for the DBE program to operate and allow you to get some race and gender neutral participation. But what we want to do here is create our own standalone SPE program. And we feel like that will allow us to be a bit more targeted and not necessarily have to wait for a federally funded program. If we have our own standalone program, we can use those goals or those requirements on anything that we're doing and hopefully drive again more business opportunities for small businesses to come work with us. And so some of the things we're doing right now, looking at, again, workshops, talking to other agencies, talking to other airports that have SBE programs and trying to understand how they do that. What we want to do is make sure that we are putting in the proper steps, making sure we're aware of any pitfalls or any issues that have happened previously, and making sure that we're highlighting things that work. We want these programs to be fruitful because when they're successful, it's successful for you guys, but it's also successful for us. And we've got good stories to tell. We've got vendors that come back and understand the airport and they feel like they're a part of the success that we're having here, and that's what we really want to make sure that we're sharing. So our current programs right now, again, is just our ACDBE and our DBE programs. And those every 3 years we go through and set our ACDBE and DBE triennial goals, which are essentially the goals that the airport hopes to achieve over a 3-year period. We are wrapping up our current 3-year period, which was 2023 to 2025. For the DBE side, and then next year we'll be wrapping our ACDBE, which was 2024 to 2026. And so you'll see currently right now those percentages. The previous triennial was 13.9 on the ACDBE side for non-rental cars. It's now 15.7. So we are seeing additional opportunities, and we're seeing those numbers tick up. On the rental car side, a little bit of a slide, but that is kind of to be expected. And that's something that we're looking at and focusing on to see where we can make adjustments on that to get that number back up. But on the DBE side, you'll also see the previous triennial goal of 6.41 now is at 9.38. And that's a reflection of us, again, continuously achieving that, but also the number of DBE businesses that are available and the amount of work that we have coming up. And so, again, a direct reflection of the opportunities that are showing, that are providing themselves. And you can see that increased number means that there's an increased opportunity for small and disadvantaged businesses to do work here. And then under development, again, small business enterprise program that we're working on right now, you'll see construction, engineering, architecture, or AEC is at 3%. That's 3% on the kind of race and gender neutral side of the DBE program. So our DBE small business element kind of has that 3% AEC portion. You'll see on the non-rental car concessions, it's 13%, and the rental car is 3.7. But those are not necessarily the percentages that we're taking into our new program once it's created. So you're not going to see like an SBE program that we have that is only asking for a 3% participation from engineers or architects or on a construction project. We'll be doing our reviews, seeing what's out there, and be setting ambitious goals to make sure that we're again getting those opportunities and sharing them with the smaller community so that they can be successful every time that we're successful. And so we'll continue to look at what that looks like, and we're looking at a bunch of different ways of how how we want to set those levels, how people become certified as an SBE, and what that means going forward. And so eligibility for ACDBs and DBEs, those are pretty similar. Again, they're same federal program. One's just in the airport concessions space. The other is more general. But typically, the ownership has to be 51% by a socially and economically disadvantaged individual. So that could be a person of color, that could be a woman, that could be someone that's disabled. There are several categories that determine socially and economically disadvantaged. So a person in that category just has to have 51% ownership of said business. The business size also has to meet certain annual gross receipts. And so for airport concessions, it's 56.4 million. So you have to have annual receipts, I believe, over the last 3 years that do not go over that. And then on the DBE side, it's 31.84. And again, same thing, annual receipts over the last 3 years that do not exceed that number. And then personal net worth. The personal net worth was actually raised, I believe, either last year or 2 years ago. It was somewhere around $1 million, and now it's 2.047. So hopefully that is a change that allows more businesses to qualify and take some of the benefits of the DBE and ACDBE programs. On the SBE side, some of the things that we're considering, personal income, personal net worth, total assets, employee count. So we're looking at either all of those or any combination of those that best positions us to allow, the right amount of firms to qualify as an SBE. You don't want to flood it so that every firm is considered a small business, because then, every firm's a small business, no firm's a small business. But we also want to make sure that we're not constricting it so much that we're getting, 10 or 15 small businesses that qualify. So we're going to be looking at a bunch of different combinations here. We'll be looking at small business administration, Alex's group and what their requirements are for small businesses. We'll be looking at the state of California and what theirs are, and trying to find the right mix for us that allows and opens that gate for, a good amount of small businesses that we can target and that can have opportunities to work here. So as part of that discussion on the small business enterprise program, one of the things that we really do here is focus on the culture. I think if you talk to anyone that works for OIAA, the culture is a big thing. We are very focused on having that familial feel, getting back and giving back to our community, and making sure that the communities that surround this airport understand that they're supported by the airport, and that we are, grateful for all of their participation, and for the residents and for the traveling public that come here and frequent and utilize our services. So culture is huge. To that end, we are in the community heavily. Our community engagement department is out. They're parts of over 30 chambers of commerce, and they attend those chamber meetings. And they let people know at those chamber meetings what's coming up and what the airport's doing. Again, and it's just part of that push to ensure that everyone that uses this airport knows what's happening here, and that they can feel a part of this family as well. And with this small business enterprise, or with this Office of Business Opportunities, we want to continue to do the same thing. We want to make sure that you guys know what's coming up, so that when there is an opportunity to work here, or when there's an opportunity to sub here, you're there and and you're prepared, and then you can feel part of the growth, part of the success, and part of the family field here. On the analysis side, we're definitely doing a ton of analysis on, again, what works, what doesn't work, and then also analysis on the baseline compliance things that we need to make sure we're doing, checking those boxes, touching bases with our vendors that are under DB and ACDB contracts to make sure that they feel supported and they know that we're here to help. And then we're analyzing, as I mentioned earlier, when our SBE program comes in, what's the best way for us to structure it? What's the best way for us to allow in, the most impactful firms, and give ourselves a real shot at having growth and seeing success in this program, because we want to make sure as the airport grows, as work continues to come to the airport, that we're sharing that not just with the big firms, but with the smaller firms that, maybe you have a business in Ontario, maybe you have a business in Riverside, maybe you have a business in Chino, and you can come here and feel successful and have a piece of that growth once we continue moving forward. And then on the goal side, we're definitely looking at what goals we're going to set and how we set those, what that looks like. And some of the things that we want to do is create a program that is impactful, but we also want to create a program that is that creates a good baseline, because as we start it, we want to make sure that we can expand the program, and we want to make sure that we can take all the fruits and benefits from the program. And that only works if we, can really start from a firm, solid ground, and that comes with, making sure that our baseline goals are reasonable, but then also some of the things that we want to do goals wise for the program are making sure that we're getting into the community, making sure that we're touching bases with you guys so you guys know what's coming up. You guys feel like you have an outlet to talk to us about, challenges or concerns or things that you like that the program does, or success stories from the program, so that we're always able to tweak it. And then, ideally, an overarching goal for the program is that we, like I said, expand it, and that it can touch on to, other agencies' programs, or other airports programs, and maybe there's kind of like a global push for small business programs or small business certifications, and those can be utilized throughout the region. So where would you get certified? So as an ACDBE or a DBE, there's the CUCP. So if you're not aware of the CUCP, it's the California Unified Certification Program. It is essentially a conglomerate of a bunch of different agencies that that certify or that accept certification. So you'd have like the state of California, you'd have LA Metro, City of LA. There's some up north in San Francisco. So there's a bunch of different California agencies that will either certify or accept a certification from anyone in the CUCP. We are in accepting. We accept certifications from CUCP. We're not a certifier just yet. As a smaller entity, it's a little tough for us to be a certifier. But if you are certified, if you do have an ACDB or a DB certification from anyone in the CUCP, we will accept that. And if you don't have one, a quick way to get one, certifiers in the area, as I mentioned, LA County Metro, so Metro is one, and then the City of Los Angeles World Airports is also a certifier. So if you're not certified and you're interested and you want to get certified, you can definitely go to one of those agencies that are technically in the area, and let them know that you're trying to start this process and go through it. I believe there is a bit of a lead time for both of those, so just I would say start early, just so you can get ahead of any rush as projects continue to come up. And then on the SBE side, so again, we haven't yet set our definition of what an SBE is to us, or what an SBE will be on the concession side, but we're considering a slew of different avenues. So we're definitely looking at, like I mentioned, just taking either the SBA definition, a mix of the SBA definition and California's definition. Maybe there's another agency in the area that has a definition that works best for us. So we're going to look at that and try to make sure that we're tailoring this program in a way that makes it the most impactful. And then, as I mentioned, our DBE program does have a small business element in it. And currently, if you're certified as a DBE with the CUCP, you would qualify as a small business in our small business element. And that's something that we'll continue to think of too. That could be an additional way to qualify for our SBE program once it's in place. And we'll make sure that all of those opportunities and all of those steps are clear and concise and shared with everyone so you guys know once our program is out there how you can participate in it. Okay, so where is opportunity in an airport? It's everywhere. There are a ton of different avenues for you to get business at an airport. Just talking about our airport specifically, opportunities are in marketing, our office management, maintenance, technology. Those those divisions do a lot of micro purchases, so there's opportunities for your small business to get in and have maybe a smaller contract to do, like marketing would have, a lot of promotional items that you could utilize. Office management does, a lot of furniture or event hosting, catering. Maintenance and technology do also a lot of, little things, parts and other smaller shipments that they would need. So there's opportunities there for them to do a micro purchase or a smaller threshold purchase with a small business directly. On the capital development side, obviously, architectural engineering, construction, and subcontractor opportunities. As I mentioned, we're a growing airport. We, just awarded, or we're in the process of awarding, new planning and new design contracts. And what that means is there's more work coming, right? So, working with those architects and engineers, we're going to be planning out the next few years at this airport and what that work looks like. And so now's a great time. I believe we're going to be awarding those contracts in August. It's a great time to check that board meeting, see who those companies are, and get in touch with them. Especially if you're on the architecture and engineering side, get in touch with them. But then also, stay aware of what they're doing and what projects they're designing, because those projects then move into construction, and that's how you can get ahead and that's how you can be aware of those coming up. On the concession side, we have opportunities to be an operator, a JV partner, a supplier. Right now, there's not a ton, but we are always looking at different ways to be innovative, to be creative with concessions opportunities, and that's a perfect place for a small business to come in, and maybe you can set up a little kiosk, or maybe you can partner with someone that's in the terminals now and have your wares sold at their shop or something. Some of the things that we do right now, Brewery X is a partner of ours that, we have a unique partnership with them. As I mentioned, we're always looking to be innovative. We're always looking to be creative. And so we're kind of 50-50 with Brewery X, and that's a industry disruptor. Not a lot of airports or agencies do that. We're one of the first, and we're seeing a lot of success from that. But we're also seeing, Chick-fil-A is in our airport, Subway's in our airport, and both of those are operated by ACDBE partners. So, we are looking for, that local feel. We're looking for that wow factor, but we're also looking for, someone that's going to be creative, and those opportunities will come up and present themselves. So that's something to keep an eye out on. On the IT side, services, security, we're always looking for that, parts, installation, creative approaches, and that will remain. And then on airport maintenance, there's always a ton of stuff to do. So there's a lot of opportunities. If you're if you're in one of those fields, or if you don't think you're in one of those fields, there's opportunity to cross through. So I would just say keep your eye out. All of our opportunities go up, or I should say, most of our opportunities go up on OpenGov, and so we'll be making sure that those are more available for people to see and find. And we've been pushing OpenGov for, I believe, we've had it for a year now, and we'll continue to push that. But I'm working with my procurement team to get better visibility for just the general public to know when something's coming out and what's available. And then just a couple of nuances of working in an airport. This is not, a normal area or space to work in. And there are some things to consider, but it is a great place to work, and it's a great place to hone your business. So just some things, again, as a secure space, your employees will have to be badged, and so the badging process can take a little bit of time. So that's just something that to keep in mind. Our badging office is very efficient, so it shouldn't be a holdup too much, but it is something that you want to be aware of, and some of the steps that are required there. If you are, especially if you're working in the terminals, deliveries are not just straightforward. It's not that they can't be done, but someone's not just going to walk up to your storefront with the delivery. So you'll want to make sure that you're coordinating that, and you're aware of how that works. And again, there are a lot of small businesses that are in the terminals, and they're successful, and they can kind of show you what needs to happen. And our revenue management division will also be walking you through what would happen there. And then TSA, our terminal security protocols, going through TSA clearance to get through, making sure that again, you're wearing your badge, you're badging through certain areas, you're doing proper screening. It's just some of those things that can add a little bit of time, but if you're prepared for it, it's not an issue at all. And then on the capital side, insurance wise, it's about $1 million of insurance, especially for small businesses. We do have a small business insurance program. And so that would reduce the level of insurance that you would need to qualify to work here. And we'll always work with our risk management department to make sure that we're continuing that, and seeing if there are any adjustments that need to happen to that. But that $1 million level is typically attainable. And at any other airport that I've seen, that's among the lowest. So that's great there. In terminal development, sometimes there are some build out costs if you're gonna, again, be in the terminal operating a concession. But in talking to our revenue management department, our division, they often work with small businesses on how much that capital investment will be. So that shouldn't necessarily be a hurdle. Again, we're always looking for ways to partner with small businesses, and one of the things that they told me is they do work with that capital investment side on a build out. And then labor. So again, if you're in the terminal, we are close to a 24/7 operation, and so that may mean that your storefront or your operation should be open longer, especially if it's food and beverage. So just considering that, what your hours of operation could be. And again, if you're prepared for it, it doesn't have to be an impact, but it's just something to consider. And then closing out, so we're continuing to plan for the future. We are growing. We're continuing to grow, and we're looking to, make sure that this airport, is not only one that is safe, fast, and easy to get through, but it is a world-class airport, and we're making sure that we're, approaching, our growth in a way that, positions us to continue it, but also positions us to continue the safe and easy flow that people enjoy here. The whole SoCal So Easy. We want to make sure that we're staying with that. There's a QR code there. If you are interested in anything that we have or anything that I talked about today, you can fill out our small business interest form. Isela keeps a nice track of everyone that logs in there, and then she's going through and contacting people when opportunities come up that may entice them. And then if you guys want to reach out and connect with us, there's our small business contact information. So business opportunities at flyontario.com. And that email address, Cecil and I check that, and we'll make sure we're responding to any questions or comments that you have. And then keep watching OpenGov. As I mentioned, OpenGov is where we put a lot of our opportunities as they come up. And so keep an eye out for that. And I'm working with our procurement team again to create additional transparency to, hopefully have something that shows when something is coming, not only that it's been released, but when something's coming. So you have additional time to prepare and get yourself ready for those opportunities as they come up. And I believe that is it for me.
Thank you, Jamal, for that. Great information. I hope everyone got some good intel on what needs to be done in order to be successful and start your journey into the airport. I know you covered one of my questions already about where the current upcoming procurement opportunities. You said OpenGov,
Yeah.
which is great. So I see a lot of other entities using OpenGov as well. Can you provide, I know it's still in the works, but at least a rough draft of the details on the vendor registration process?
Yeah, so our vendor registration process right now, we've moved it to a electronic uh, series of forms. And so any vendor that's interested, that's, especially going through a process, you'll get a link, or you can get a link from us, and you'll complete that. It takes you into Workday, and there's a number of forms that you'll fill out. Moving it over to an electronic piece has made it a lot easier, and it's made it a lot easier for us to kind of reach out and assist. And so that currently is what our vendor registration portion is. And it's a lot of general information about your company, your W-2s. If you are doing business here, you need to get a business license from the City of Ontario. But we will walk you guys through all of that, and make sure that it's easy, as easy as registering with a government entity can be.
Okay, we do have two questions that came in from Robin. It says, is it mandatory to be certified in order to get a contract, or are all welcome that are competent?
Oh, all are always welcome. It is not mandatory. Being certified, can help you not just here but in other areas. Be especially as a DBE or an ACDBE. You know, all as a DBE, all government agencies look for those because federal funding is tied to that. As an ACDBE, all airports look for those again because federal funding is tied to that. So it's just a way that can get you additional opportunities, but it's never required for you to do work. If you're a qualified business and you can get the job done, and you either come in with the lowest responsible bid, or the proposal that shows that you provide the best value to the entity, we'll award it.
Okay, Sandra, if you can post the OpenGov link into the chat. We have another question here.
Yeah.
Do you use SDVOSB suppliers?
Um, we don't right now, but we are not opposed to any of that. Um, we, you know, right now we don't directly use them, but we're, like I said, we're always looking at the suppliers that can, provide us with the, best product that we can get.
Okay. How does Ontario Airport prioritize and select vendors for procurement contracts?
Um, I would say we're not necessarily prioritizing. Um, what we will do, especially if we're doing a formal solicitation, is an RFP is issued or an RFB is issued, and then we go through that process. Now, if it's an RFB, we will look at primarily the price, and so we'll give you a breakdown of the items that we need. You'll either do a unit price or a lump sum, and then we will go with the person that has the lowest price, provided that they are responsive and responsible. On a proposal side, we'll look at your proposal and we'll be evaluating on a bunch of different metrics, and you'll know what those metrics are and how many points are assigned to those. Um, and so that's what we would be looking at. On the proposal side, we would end up going with the person that is highest rated. And that does not necessarily mean the person that has the lowest cost. We do have cost in as a factor, but generally on a proposal, cost is somewhere around maybe 15 to 30%. And so we're really looking at your experience, how much you understand the project, and your team's ability to who your key personnel are and stuff like that.
Okay, we got a few more questions coming in here. It says
Okay.
one, I manufacture cable assemblies and wire harnesses. Is this something that would fit with Ontario Airport?
Yeah, I believe so. Our IT and ops departments, definitely are always looking at, different ways um, to utilize different services. And I think that could be something. Now I don't have a direct, here's an opportunity right away, but I definitely think it's something, if you kept your eyes open, and were checking on us, you could see something that could work. And it might not be a, a direct contract with us. You could be looking at, a construction RFB that's out there, and in there's some cabling and stuff, and then you would work with that prime, whoever's priming it to be their sub. Um, but yeah, I think that could be something that we could do.
Okay. As a product-based business, what is the best way to become a wholesale supplier for the retailers?
Sorry, can you read that one more time?
Yes, as a product-based business, what is the best way to become a wholesale supplier for your retailers?
Oh, that's a good question. I, I mean, I think, to me, the best way is to find out who is supplying our stuff. Depending on what it is that you are a wholesale supplier of, find out who we get that from right now, and then talk to those people to see, about opportunities for uh, you being their wholesale person. I think that's probably the best way. Um, there are some potential for us to go directly with a wholesaler, but I would say right now that that initial step is your best bet.
Okay. How can I propose new technology and services to ONT?
Um, I would say uh, I would say reach out to, especially if you're a small business, I would say reach out to business opportunities at flyontario.com. You could also reach out to procurement services at flyontario.com, and I will try to put both of those in the chat, um, and let us know what that is, and then we can, the procurement team or Isela and I can, get you in contact with the right people, or see if there are any opportunities coming up for that work.
Another one here is that we have a video communications company. Is this service something your airport may be interested in?
Video communications.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's definitely something that we would be interested in, especially on the marketing side. Our marketing and communications division is very talented and strong, and they're looking at a bunch of different ways to get our messages out. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen a bunch of billboards that we have everywhere, and different commercials and advertising, and they're just looking at different ways. So, video communication could be a way that they would utilize that.
Another one here says you mentioned under the slide that capital development construction. To look into those who have the contract will be awarded them in August to see how we can sub.
Hmm.
How can we see who holds contracts currently at Ontario right now?
Um, right now, you can do a public records request, and then we will let you know who's holding those contracts. Part of my push with our procurement and contracts team is for them to have a running expiration list, so you can see who's holding what contract that's expiring in the next 3 months, 6 months. So that would be, obviously that would be the fastest way, but we're not quite there yet. So I would say if you're interested, do a public records request and try to have it be, targeted to the area that you're concerned in, because that will get you a response faster.
Okay, another one here is there a possible demand for shipping containers that's needed in ONT?
Not that I'm aware of right now. Um, but in my 2.5, almost 3 years here, um, we we get a lot of stuff, and so I would say never. I'll never say never, but off the top of my head right now, there isn't.
My company provides sweeping services, and we've done sweeping for construction sites as well as we've been contracting for parking lot sweeping directly. Is this something that would be needed for ONT?
It could be. Right now we go through, gosh, PCI. PCI is Parking Concepts International, I believe, and they are kind of responsible for our parking lots, and parking structures. And so I think an opportunity could be found with them. I don't know who they use right now, or kind of what their approach is, but that's possible.
Okay. Do you plan to mandate the large prime contractors to subcontract to various small businesses on the larger contracts, SBE, local small business, MBE, etc.?
Um, so we can't do M or WBE based on Prop 217, but when we have the SBE program in, that's definitely something that Isela and I are looking at, making that a mandatory requirement. On the DBE and ACDBE side, it can't be again. It can't be because it's not completely race or gender neutral. And so those are just goals. And then they can either meet the goal or do a good faith effort. But since the SBE program will be completely race and gender neutral, uh, we can mandate it. And so we'll look at the effectiveness of setting a requirement, and if that allows us to set goals or requirements that are uh, impactful still. So I would lean yes. That's been my experience with it in the past, but we're definitely going to take that into consideration.
Okay, another one here is I have a dump truck company. Who can I connect with?
Um, Dump truck company, I would say, I mean, is that are you like hauling material from a construction site, or is it just like general dumping?
Okay. Yeah, well, they'll have to give a little more information. Another question here is, as a helicopter lift service, is there a possibility of supporting ONT through lift work as a sub or prime contractor?
Ooh, this is another one where I'll say off the top of my head, I don't know of an opportunity, but again, never saying never. I would keep an eye out, especially as we get into uh, bigger projects in the near future.
Okay, I think that's all the questions that are in the chat right now. What is the typical timeline for the procurement process from proposal submission to contract award?
It depends. And so I'll say for an RFB or an IFB, which is just a low bid award. Um, Slightly old data, but we're tracking at around 3.5 to 4 months. Um, and for an RFP where we're doing more of an evaluation, we're tracking at 5.5 months, and that's more recent data. So 5.5 months is pretty good. Um, when I was at LAX, we were at 6 months. Um, we were just talking to someone from SFO, and they're at 8 months. So we're pretty efficient with it, and we try to make sure that we're giving everyone an opportunity to be seen.
We have more questions coming in now.
Yeah.
Do you have any work for repaving the runways?
Do we have any work for repaving the runways? not right now. There will be a couple of jobs. Actually, I think there's one that just closed. So I think it just closed this week, or last week. I'm sorry, last week for taxiways. So there will be some taxiway work. There will be some runway work, I think, in the next year or two. Um, which again is why we're bringing on some of the planning and some of the architect, I'm sorry, the engineers. So that work will come. We did just do some major runway work over the last 3 years, but taxiways, RON spaces, apron work, a lot of that stuff will still be happening. And I think there are still some runway things on the far end. So long way to say, yeah.
Do you have any plans for expansion?
Um, I mean, we are positioning ourselves to accommodate growth. What that means right now, we're still in early discussions, but as we continue to grow, we want to make sure that, we aren't on the backside of growth where we're now a bottlenecked airport and, we're having a tough time processing passengers. Um, so whether that means expansion, whether that means improving current gates or improving current processes, we're looking at what the best approach is for that right now.
Great. Do you need a capability statement?
Uh, Typically, no. That will be flushed out in your proposal or in your bid. We'll be going through your admin documents, and we'll kind of get to the basis of that stuff there.
Great. Is an RFP always required to do contracting with the Ontario airport?
No. So we do have some smaller opportunities. We have some smaller opportunities to do something we call fiscal year authority. So especially if you're like a supplier, that could be something that works. Or if you provide professional service, that could also be something that works for you. And fiscal year authorities, we would go through typically just um, three quote process, and we'll be looking at that. We do try to advertise those, but sometimes those dollar values are a little smaller than require advertising or than advertising would be fruitful for. But yes, so you don't always have to have an RFP to work with us. You could do a smaller contract or a fiscal year authority, which would allow you to do some work with us.
Are there any current opportunities for glass or glazing work?
Um, Current, no. Just looking at the projects that I know that we have out. Currently, no, but in the future, very likely as we start to move more into terminal work.
Okay. Does Ontario need a SAM account?
We are getting there. That is something that I'm working with our procurement team to ensure that we have and ensure that we're checking for each of our successful proposers or bidders to make sure that they're not debarred or otherwise listed in a negative way on SAM.
Okay. Uh, what are the most common challenges vendors face in the procurement process, and how can they avoid them?
From what I know, I think the most common challenge right now in the procurement process is either vendor registration, which again we're addressing with our kind of moving more to an electronic approach. We're also looking at another company to come in and help us onboarding. So hopefully that takes care of that. The other one I think is just understanding some of the requirements that are in the bid documents. So we have a lot of administrative documents, and we do try to make those as clear as possible. But I think the things that I've seen, some people either don't quite understand it or forget to fill a form out, and that can create some issues. So I think those would be the two, and I'm kind of comfortable, or I'm kind of comforted saying that because I think both of those are fixable. And so, um, I don't think that it's an access issue. Um, I think it's kind of just as you get comfortable, as you learn, and as I work with my team to be, more instructive and more transparent, hopefully those go away.
Okay. And my last question here is who should prospective vendors contact for more information regarding specific procurement opportunities or to address any questions they might have?
For procurement opportunities, I would shoot an email to procurement services at flyontario.com, which I believe I put in the chat earlier. Um, that's the safest way. Otherwise, you could be reaching out to someone when a procurement is out and they won't respond to you because they're not supposed to, not because they're not, not because of anything else, but because we won't allow them to. So if you just email procurement services at flyontario.com, we can always respond, even if there's an open procurement. We know, when and where and who to talk to. So uh, if you have questions about procurements or upcoming procurements, that's a good place to go. And then obviously go into OpenGov. I believe I also put that link in to register for the portal. We're working on, you know, better utilizing the calendar in there and better utilizing some of the functions that allow us to show when work is coming up, not just the work that is actually advertised.
Okay. I think that's it for questions.
I
I
see
know we're running out of
one
time
more.
here, and I want to thank each of my guests, Mr. Alvarez, for being here, providing all this information. Three things real quick, because so many events are coming to California, especially World Cup, Super
Hmm.
Bowl, Olympics.
Hmm.
How are
Hmm.
you preparing for those big events?
Yeah, we definitely are. It's part of our conversation with our executive team a lot. Um, uh, I think the way that we're preparing, we have a couple of execs on, especially for the Olympics, the LA 28 organization panel. And we're continuing to work with them to make sure that we're prepared. And then, as I mentioned, we are, in this period of growth, regardless of those events. And so we're trying to get ahead of that to make sure that we are, um, you know, advancing our airport to be in a position that best allows us to handle increases. Again, whether that's whatever the means may be there, that's something that we're looking for. But we're excited. We're excited about all these events coming to California and for us to showcase ourselves in our airport. And we're excited for the opportunities that it will create for the businesses in the area and for small businesses in general.
Awesome. Yeah, I have your contact information up as well as Miss
Yep.
Toledo's to reach out to you for more information. I want to say thank you for everyone for joining us today.
Yes.
I
Thank you,
think it
guys.
was very, very beneficial. Jamal, again, thank you for your time providing all
Of
this
course.
information that was beneficial to these small businesses that are looking to get into the space. I know it's a unique space and it's not something that most people are aware of what's possible, what's out there for them. I think this is a great step, especially with those big events coming up to our state. Um, Again, I provide my contact information. Uh, we have another webinar series coming up next month with Metropolitan Water and Power Southern California District. So, if you're looking to join us, please register for that event. Also, our office held a monthly webinar service that covers the SBA certification processes and what certifications are available to you as a small business owner. And again, if you're interested to know more about those, please sign up for our webinars. We'll continue to provide these procurement opportunities as long as
Oh
you
no.
stay in contact with Ontario, with our district office, um, our resource partners. All this is available to you at no cost. So again, thank you for your time. Um, I just want to say, everyone have a great day and good luck out there.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.